Have you ever felt a sudden chill down your spine when walking alone at night, or experienced an inexplicable sense of comfort during a moment of despair? Perhaps you've heard a story from a friend, a grandparent, or even a stranger online about someone who narrowly escaped disaster thanks to what seemed like pure luck, or maybe something more. These fleeting moments of mystery point toward something far older and deeper than coincidence, the enduring human belief in invisible protectors. Across time and culture, people have told stories of unseen beings who watch over us, guide us, and even defend us from harm, all without ever making their presence fully known. From the whispering spirits of ancient forests to the guardian angels of modern faith, the idea that we are not alone in this world has shaped the way we understand safety, fate, and our very place in the universe. These invisible protectors appear in countless forms, sometimes as nature spirits honored by early human societies, other times as ancestral guides, divine messengers, or even elusive figures from urban legend. What's fascinating is not just how widespread these stories are, but how eerily similar they remain, whether told thousands of years ago around a fire or today in the glow of a smartphone screen. They speak to a shared longing for protection, meaning, and connection to something greater than ourselves. In this video, we're setting out on a journey to explore these mysterious defenders, where they come from, how they've evolved, and why, after all this time, they still capture our imagination. We'll travel from the animistic beliefs of our earliest ancestors to the complex mythologies of ancient civilizations, from intimate family tales to grand religious traditions that span the globe. And we won't stop there. We'll also look at how these concepts live on today in our psychology, our art, and even our technology. By the end, you may find yourself looking at those unexplained moments in your own life in a whole new light. So settle in, open your mind, and join us as we step into the world of those who guard us from the shadows, the invisible protectors. Long before the great myths of gods and goddesses were written, before temples were built or prayers were formalized, humanity's first spiritual relationship was with the world itself. Our earliest ancestors lived in a reality that was alive, breathing, and deeply conscious. They looked out at the ancient forests, the powerful rivers, and the towering mountains and did not see inert matter. They saw persons. Every element of nature possessed a spirit, a consciousness, a will. This worldview, known as animism, is the very bedrock upon which all later concepts of invisible protectors were built. It wasn't about worshipping a distant deity in the sky. It was about living in a constant, respectful dialogue with the intelligent forces right outside one's door. This intimate connection shaped daily life in profound ways. A hunter wouldn't simply take from the forest. He might ask permission from the spirit of the deer or offer thanks to the spirit of the hunt. A community settling near a river wouldn't just use its water. They would make offerings to its spirit to ensure its continued generosity and to plead for safety from its floods. Stones were not just rocks, they were often seen as the ancient, hardened bones of the earth, holding wisdom and power. To cut down a tree, to divert a stream, to quarry stone, these were not trivial acts. They were negotiations with sentient beings. The goal was to maintain harmony, because a displeased spirit could bring drought, disease, or disaster, while a happy one would provide protection, abundance, and peace. This wasn't superstition. It was a sophisticated system of ecological and social ethics that promoted balance and reverence for the natural world. We can still see powerful echoes of this ancient mindset in indigenous cultures today. Among the Sami people of northern Europe, the Siidi are sacred stones or unusual rock formations believed to be inhabited by spirits that can aid in hunting and fishing. Offerings of fish oil or antlers are still given to them, In many Native American traditions, specific mountains or rivers are considered sacred ancestors and protectors of the people. The Maori of New Zealand speak of the Weriwa, the spirit or life force that exists in all things, from people and animals to forests and oceans. These aren't abstract ideas, they are living beliefs that guide environmental interaction and community law. Anthropologists suggest that these animistic practices were humanity's first science and first psychology. They provided a framework to explain the terrifying and unpredictable forces of nature, why the rains didn't come, why a landslide destroyed a home, why one hunt succeeded and another failed. By attributing agency to these events, our ancestors transformed a chaotic world into one that could be understood, and more importantly, influenced through respect, ritual, and reciprocity. This desire to connect with and appease unseen forces provided something even more crucial, a profound sense of security. In a world filled with very real and immediate dangers, the belief that a spirit of the forest was watching over your tribe, or that the spirit of your hearthfire was guarding your home, alleviated anxiety. It created a sense of order from chaos and made the vast, unknown world feel smaller, more personal, and less hostile. This deep, ingrained need for protection and meaning, first expressed through animism, is the fundamental thread that weaves through every story of invisible guardians that would follow. It established the core idea that we are not alone, that the unseen world is populated with beings who, if approached correctly, can become our allies. This foundational layer of belief set the stage for these spirits to gradually take on more defined roles, personalities, and stories, eventually evolving into the complex pantheons of deities and the beloved figures of folklore that we recognize today. As human societies grew more complex, building cities and forming empires, their understanding of the unseen world evolved in tandem. The vast, impersonal spirits of nature began to take on more defined roles, becoming the gods, demigods, and specialized guardian spirits that populate the rich mythologies of ancient civilizations. This was a shift from placating the spirit of a specific river to praying to a god of rivers, a being with a name, a personality, and a specific domain of power. These divine figures became the ultimate invisible protectors, operating on a grand scale to shield entire cities, nations, and the very order of the cosmos itself. In the Greek world, this concept was beautifully embodied by the idea of the daemon. This wasn't a demon in the modern sense, but a unique spiritual guardian assigned to every person at birth. This daemon was an invisible, intangible companion that whispered guidance, offered nudges towards good fortune, and tried to steer one away from ruin. The philosopher Socrates famously spoke of his own daemonion, a divine voice that would hold him back from making a mistake, but never told him what to do. It was a personal, private protector, a piece of the divine working silently behind the scenes of an individual's life. The Romans had a nearly identical concept in the genius for a man or euno for a woman. This was not just a spirit of protection, but the very divine essence of a person's individuality and creative force. On one's birthday, offerings would be made to one's own genius, honoring this invisible source of their vitality and luck. This practice shows how deeply personal and integrated the belief in an unseen guardian was. It was literally a part of who you were. Households, too, had their specialized protectors. In ancient Egypt, the fearsome but beloved dwarf god Bes was a favorite domestic guardian. Unlike the majestic, distant gods of the temples, Bes was a god of the home. His grotesque, leonine face, often carved into bedposts or painted on walls, was not meant to be beautiful but to be powerful. He was believed to ward off evil spirits, snakes, and misfortune simply by being present. He protected mothers during childbirth and children as they slept, all without ever being seen in the flesh, his power emanating from his image. Similarly, the Norse tradition held great reverence for the Disir. These were collective female spirits, often thought to be deified ancestors, who watched over a particular family or lineage. Their favor was sought for success in battle and fertility in the family, and a specific festival, the Disablot, was held in their honor. They were the invisible matriarchs, the protective grandmothers of the clan, ensuring its survival and prosperity from the spirit world. What's fascinating about these mythological protectors is how they reflect the specific values and fears of their cultures. The Greek daemon aligns with a philosophical culture that valued individual destiny and personal insight. The Roman genius reflects a society deeply concerned with lineage, personal authority, and the power of the paternal line. The Egyptian god Bes speaks to the universal domestic anxieties of parenthood and the vulnerability of the home. The Norse Disir mirror a clan-based society's focus on family honor and ancestral legacy. These were not one-size-fits-all deities. They were tailored, invisible solutions to the specific psychological needs of the people who believed in them. Scholars like Joseph Campbell saw these myths as far more than simple stories. He argued they serve essential psychological and social functions. On a personal level, the belief that an invisible daemon is guiding you provides immense comfort and reduces the anxiety of navigating our unpredictable world. It externalizes our own intuition and conscience, giving it a voice and authority that feels divine. Socially, these myths create a powerful moral framework. If your every action is witnessed by your genius or your ancestral Disir, you are far more likely to act in accordance with your culture's values. They become the ultimate unseen witnesses, fostering a sense of ethical responsibility and social cohesion. This evolution from animistic spirits to personalized guardians marked a crucial step in humanity's relationship with the unseen. It brought the power of protection out of the forest and into the home, and out of the abstract and into the very heart of the individual, setting the stage for the even more intimate and often mischievous protectors we would soon meet in the tales told around the fireplace. While the grand myths of gods and demigods were shaping empires, a quieter, more intimate kind of magic was brewing in the homes and hearths of ordinary people. This is where mythology came down to earth, transforming from the epic tales of divine protectors into the humble, hands-on helpers of folklore and fairy tale. Here, the invisible guardian wasn't a distant god on a mountain, but a creature who lived in your walls, slept by your fireplace, and secretly mended your shoes while you slept. These stories gave a name and a personality to the small, inexplicable acts of kindness that could make a hard life just a little bit easier. Consider the Scottish brownie, perhaps one of the most famous of these hidden helpers. Unlike a grand angel or a powerful daemon, the brownie was a small, shaggy, and somewhat mischievous creature. It would arrive under the cover of darkness to a household it favored, performing all the tedious chores that never seemed to end, churning the butter, sweeping the floors, mending the clothes, and threshing the grain. Its payment was never coin, but a simple offering of cream or a small cake left respectfully by the hearth. The most crucial rule, repeated in countless tales, was that you must never, ever try to see the brownie, or worse still, offer it direct thanks with a gift of clothing. To do so was a profound insult, a violation of the unspoken contract between the seen and the unseen worlds. The brownie would either vanish forever, taking its help with it, or in some stories, transform into a malevolent boggart, dedicated to plaguing the household with pranks and misery. This wasn't just a whimsical story, it was a powerful lesson about respecting boundaries, appreciating labor that goes unnoticed, and understanding that some forms of help are given freely but can be taken away by arrogance or a lack of grace. Travel east across Europe and you find a similar, though often more formidable, presence in the Slavic domovoi. This household spirit was deeply tied to the home itself, believed to be the ancestral soul of the family's founder. The domovoi was a protector, but one with a stern and temperamental personality. He was often heard rather than seen, a sigh in the darkness, the sound of footsteps in the attic, the creak of a floorboard. A happy domovoi, treated with respect, would watch over the family's health and prosperity, warn of impending danger by tugging on someone's hair in their sleep, and ensure the livestock thrived. But a displeased domovoi, one whose home was kept dirty or whose family was lazy, could express his fury by breaking dishes, pinching people black and blue as they slept, or even setting small fires. The relationship with a domovoi was a constant, active negotiation. Families would speak to him aloud, leave out bowls of milk or bread, and carefully observe his moods. He was the ultimate personification of the household's own well-being, a constant, unseen reminder that a home is not just a building, but a living entity that requires care, respect, and attention to flourish. These stories, from the British Isles to the vast stretches of Russia, served a function far deeper than simple entertainment. Folklorists point out that they were essential tools for social cohesion and moral education. The tale of the brownie taught children the value of humility and the importance of not looking a gift horse in the mouth. The legend of the domovoi reinforced the necessity of keeping a clean and orderly home, of honoring one's ancestors, and of being industrious. They provided a framework for understanding the small mysteries of daily life. Why was the butter churned so quickly this morning? The brownie must have done it. Why did the cat suddenly hiss at an empty corner? The domovoi must be in a foul mood. These narratives transformed random acts of good fortune into earned rewards for good behavior and unexplained misfortunates into lessons for improvement. They made the world feel orderly, moral, and intelligible. This personalized form of protection, blending the practical with the wondrous, represents a crucial democratization of the supernatural. Everyone, from the poorest farmer to the wealthiest landowner, could have a relationship with these invisible helpers. They belonged not to priests in temples, but to grandmothers telling stories by the fire, to parents gently reminding children to leave out a saucer of milk. They were a way for ordinary people to feel watched over, not by a distant and judgmental God, but by a creature that was part of their own daily existence. This deep, folk-level belief in a world teeming with helpful, if elusive, spirits created a cultural foundation that would seamlessly merge with and support the more formalized, divine unseen protectors waiting in the wings of organized religion. This seamless transition from the folklore of the hearth to the grand doctrines of organized faith reveals a universal human impulse, the desire for a personalized, benevolent connection to the divine. While household spirits like brownies and domovoi operated within the intimate sphere of the home, the world's major religions expanded this concept of invisible protection to a cosmic scale, offering every believer a direct personal guardian appointed by God Himself. In Christianity, this takes the form of the guardian angel, a doctrine firmly rooted in Scripture. Jesus himself, in the Gospel of Matthew, warns against harming children, stating that their angels in heaven always see the face of my Father. This powerful image suggests that each individual, especially the most vulnerable, has a celestial advocate whose primary purpose is to offer guidance, protection, and to intercede on their behalf, all while remaining unseen. This belief isn't a mere folk tale. It's a cornerstone of faith for millions, providing immense comfort. The Catholic Church even designates a specific day, the 2nd of October, to honor these celestial guardians, cementing their role in the spiritual life of the faithful. In Islam, the concept of unseen protectors is equally profound and intricately detailed. Angels, or malaika, are created from light and serve as flawless servants of Allah, fulfilling countless roles that intertwine with human existence. Two angels, known as the Karam and Katibin, the honorable scribes, are believed to accompany every person from puberty until death. One sits on the right shoulder, recording every good deed, while the other on the left records every misdeed. This constant, unseen documentation isn't meant to inspire fear, but to foster a profound awareness of one's actions and a personal responsibility for one's spiritual account. Beyond these record keepers, other angels offer direct protection. Surah al-Rod in the Quran states, "For each one are successive angels before and behind him who protect him by the decree of Allah." This offers believers the powerful reassurance that they are constantly enveloped in a divine safety net, guided and guarded through life's trials by unseen, benevolent forces acting under God's ultimate command. Venturing into Eastern traditions, we find a different but equally powerful model of invisible aid in Mahayana Buddhism, the Bodhisattva. A Bodhisattva is an enlightened being who, motivated by boundless compassion, postpones their own final nirvana to remain in the cycle of rebirth to aid all suffering beings. These figures, such as the beloved Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion, are not gods to be worshipped but compassionate guides and protectors. They are believed to perceive the cries of the world and respond to them, offering aid, wisdom, and protection from behind the scenes. A devotee might chant the name of a bodhisattva not to summon a physical presence, but to align themselves with that being's enlightened qualities of compassion and courage, thereby finding the inner strength to overcome their own obstacles. The protection offered is often subtle, a sudden moment of clarity in a time of confusion, an unexpected helping hand from a stranger, or a sense of profound peace amidst chaos, all attributed to the unseen, compassionate activity of these enlightened guides. Theologians and historians point out that these religious frameworks, for all their differences, serve remarkably similar psychological and social functions. They provide a powerful sense of divine oversight that can alleviate the crushing anxiety of navigating an unpredictable world. The belief that an angel is walking beside you, that your deeds are being witnessed by the Kuram and Katabin, or that a bodhisattva hears your silent suffering, transforms solitude into sacred companionship. This belief system doesn't encourage passivity, rather, it fosters resilience. It provides a framework for understanding suffering, not as random punishment, but as a test, a lesson, or a part of a larger divine plan that includes unseen support. Furthermore, it powerfully reinforces ethical behavior. The idea that your every action is witnessed by an unseen, divine recorder promotes a personal accountability that is far more intimate and constant than any human law. This spiritual dimension, present across the globe, shows how the ancient human need for invisible protectors was refined, formalized, and universalized by organized religion, offering hope and a moral compass to billions throughout history. While organized religion offered a celestial framework for divine guardianship, many cultures around the world cultivated an even more intimate and earth-centered relationship with the unseen. This connection isn't mediated by grand deities but is woven directly into the fabric of the natural world, where an individual's most personal protector might be the wolf, the eagle, or the bear. Indigenous traditions across the globe hold a profound belief in spirit animals and totems, invisible, yet deeply felt guides that offer wisdom, strength, and protection through a sacred, personal bond. For many Native American tribes, the concept of a spirit animal is foundational to a person's identity and path in life. It's not a casual belief but a core aspect of spiritual understanding. An individual doesn't simply choose a spirit animal, the animal chooses them, often revealing itself through a powerful dream, a significant vision quest, or through repeated, meaningful encounters in the physical world. A person might see a specific hawk circling overhead at a pivotal moment, or find the tracks of a bear leading them to a place of safety. This animal becomes a lifelong guardian and a source of its particular strengths. The bear embodies introspection and healing, the wolf represents loyalty and keen intuition, the eagle offers a broader perspective and connection to the divine. This relationship is a two-way street. It requires respect, acknowledgement, and often offerings of thanks. It's a silent partnership where the protector is never seen in its spiritual form, yet its influence is felt in the courage to face a challenge, the sudden clarity in making a decision, or the comforting sense of not being alone on a difficult journey. This belief system personalizes the vast, impersonal forces of nature, giving each person a unique and powerful ally in the unseen world. Half a world away, in the ancient landscapes of Australia, Aboriginal cultures speak of a different, yet parallel, concept through the framework of the Dreamtime. The Dreamtime is not a past event but a continuing spiritual dimension that exists alongside the physical world, the source of all life and law. Within this, ancestral beings, often taking the form of specific animals, are the creators and eternal guardians of the land. A particular rock formation, a waterhole, or a mountain range might be the physical manifestation of the rainbow serpent or the kangaroo ancestor. These beings are not distant myths. They are ever-present, invisible protectors of the country and the people connected to it. An individual's totem, often inherited through kinship lines, connects them directly to one of these ancestral beings. This creates a sacred responsibility, a duty to protect that animal species and the land it represents. To harm one's totem animal is to harm a part of oneself and one's ancestor. This belief brilliantly fuses environmental stewardship with spiritual identity, making the protection of the natural world a personal, religious obligation. The guardian is the land itself, and the land is alive with unseen, watchful presence. What unites these diverse traditions is a profound emphasis on harmony, reciprocity, and mindfulness. The relationship with a spirit animal or totem is not one of dominance or simple extraction of power. It is a relationship built on mutual respect. Offerings of tobacco, song, or prayer are given not to control, but to give thanks and maintain balance. This worldview fosters an incredible depth of environmental awareness. You move through the world differently when you believe a spider might be a messenger or a deer is the embodiment of a gentle teacher. Every rustle in the leaves, every bird call becomes potentially significant, a possible sign from an unseen guide. Anthropologists studying these cultures note that this isn't merely superstition. It's a sophisticated system of knowledge that promotes biodiversity and sustainable living. By viewing the natural world as family and protector, rather than a resource to be exploited, these traditions have safeguarded ecosystems for millennia. The invisible protector in this context becomes the very key to survival, teaching that to protect nature is to protect oneself. This deeply personal integration of the unseen into daily life and identity shows us a form of spirituality that is immediate, experiential, and grounded. It doesn't require a priest or a temple. It requires attentiveness to the whispers of the world around us. For the individual within these cultures, their spirit animal or totem is a constant, invisible companion shaping their character, informing their decisions, and offering a unique form of protection that is as personal as their own fingerprint. This ancient, intuitive way of engaging with the world raises a compelling question for our modern era. In a time of concrete and screens, do these personal connections to unseen guides still occur? Even in our hyper-rational, technologically driven age, the stories haven't stopped. They've simply traded the forest path for the freeway and the campfire for the internet forum. The ancient human yearning to believe we are watched over has found a new home in the modern urban legend and the deeply personal, often uncanny, anecdotes shared between friends. These contemporary accounts are the direct descendants of the Domovoi and the guardian angel, proving that our need for these narratives is as persistent as ever. One of the most enduring and widespread modern myths is that of the phantom hitchhiker. The details change with the region, but the core story remains remarkably consistent. A lone driver, often on a remote road at night, picks up a quiet stranger. They share a brief, sometimes eerie, conversation before the passenger vanishes without a trace from the moving vehicle, sometimes leaving behind a single prophetic item. In the most famous American version, the vanishing hitchhiker is later identified as the ghost of a young girl who died on that very road years earlier. But in a fascinating twist, many modern retellings transform this spectral figure from a lost soul into an active protector. The stranger doesn't just vanish, they leave behind a vital warning that prevents the driver from encountering a washed-out bridge or a deadly accident further down the road. Their inexplicable appearance and disappearance become an act of unseen intervention, a moment of benevolent manipulation from the shadows that saves a life. Beyond these shared cultural myths, there exists a vast and deeply personal reservoir of individual experiences. Online communities and social media are filled with first-hand accounts that defy easy explanation. A parent might describe a sudden, overwhelming feeling that told them to check on their sleeping baby moments before a sudden illness would have turned tragic. A driver might recount an unmistakable voice yelling, "Stop," in an empty car, causing them to slam on the brakes just in time to avoid a collision with a truck that ran a red light. Others speak of an invisible force, like a firm hand on their shoulder, physically pulling them back from the edge of a subway platform as a train speeds through the station. These are not stories passed down through generations. They are raw, personal testimonials of a moment when the predictable rules of reality seemed to bend and an unseen presence stepped in. Sociologists and parapsychologists who study these accounts point out that they are far more than just spooky tales. They serve a crucial function, acting as a modern-day coping mechanism for the anxieties of contemporary life. In a world filled with the impersonal chaos of traffic, technology, and globalized risk, the idea of a personalized guardian offers a powerful sense of comfort and control. These stories transform a random, near-miss accident from a terrifying brush with meaningless chance into a meaningful event, a sign that someone or something is looking out for you. They create order from chaos and provide a narrative that helps people process trauma and fear, much like ancient myths helped our ancestors explain thunderstorms and droughts. What makes these modern encounters so compelling is their ambiguity. There is almost never any physical proof, no blurry photograph of the vanishing hitchhiker or audio recording of the warning voice. The evidence exists solely in the memory and the conviction of the experiencer. This blurring of the line between subjective reality and objective fact is where these stories truly live. They force us to confront a simple but profound question. Is this a trick of the mind under extreme stress, a neurological glitch, a coincidence so powerful it feels intentional? Or is it a genuine glimpse into a layer of reality we don't yet understand, where the ancient protectors of myth and religion continue their work in new, contemporary disguises? This very ambiguity is what keeps the idea alive, allowing it to be simultaneously dismissed as folklore and embraced as personal truth, setting the stage for a much closer look at the machinery of the human mind itself. So where does this powerful, persistent need for unseen guardians come from? Why do these stories, from ancient myths to modern anecdotes, resonate so deeply across the human experience? The answer may lie not in the spirit world, but within the very wiring of our own minds. Psychology offers a compelling lens through which to view these beliefs, revealing them not as simple superstitions, but as sophisticated mental tools forged by evolution. Our brains are, first and foremost, pattern recognition machines, hardwired to make sense of a chaotic and often dangerous world. This fundamental drive gives rise to several key cognitive biases that form the bedrock of our belief in invisible protectors. One of the most powerful is known as agency detection. Imagine our ancient ancestors hearing a rustle in the grass. The individual who assumed the rustle was caused by a deliberate agent, a predator with intention, and ran away, lived to pass on their genes. The one who assumed it was just the wind might not have been so lucky. We are the descendants of the paranoid, of those who erred on the side of seeing purpose and consciousness in the world around them. This hyper-vigilant tendency, so crucial for survival, easily extends into perceiving patterns and intentions where none exist, seeing the hand of a guardian angel in a lucky break, or interpreting a sudden feeling of dread as a warning from an unseen spirit. This innate search for patterns is closely linked to our profound need for control and comfort. The world is unpredictable, filled with random tragedies and inexplicable strokes of good fortune. This randomness can be psychologically unbearable. Believing that a benevolent, unseen force is guiding events provides a powerful antidote to this anxiety. It transforms a terrifying, chaotic universe into a structured, intelligible, and ultimately friendly place. There's a name for this too: the illusion of control. It's the feeling that we have more influence over events than we actually do, and believing in a guardian that we can somehow communicate with through prayer, ritual, or good behavior feeds directly into this need. It gives us a sense of agency, a way to potentially influence outcomes in a world that often renders us powerless. This is why these beliefs are so often heightened during times of extreme stress, grief, or danger. They are a psychological life raft. The comfort provided by this belief system mirrors one of our earliest and most fundamental bonds: the attachment between a child and a caregiver. Attachment theory suggests that the sense of security we get from a protective parent forms a blueprint for our future relationships, including our relationship with the divine or the supernatural. An invisible protector, whether a guardian angel, a spirit animal, or a domovoi, functions as the ultimate attachment figure. They are always present, all-knowing, all-powerful, and unconditionally devoted to our safety. This belief provides a secure base from which to explore the world and a safe haven to return to when threatened. It's no surprise then that neuroscientific studies have shown that prayer or meditation on a benevolent spiritual presence can activate the same brain regions associated with feelings of social connection and safety, literally soothing our neural pathways and reducing the production of stress hormones like cortisol. The benefits aren't just felt in the moment, they have measurable, long-term impacts on well-being. A substantial body of research in the field of positive psychology has consistently found a correlation between spiritual belief, particularly in a benevolent, personal higher power or protector, and improved mental health outcomes. Believers often report lower levels of anxiety and depression, faster recovery from trauma, and a greater overall sense of life satisfaction and purpose. This is known as the adaptive benefit of religion and spirituality. These beliefs are not evolutionary mistakes. They are functional tools that promote resilience. They foster optimism, provide a framework for making meaning out of suffering, and create a powerful social support network through shared belief. In this light, the invisible protector is a profound psychological innovation, a cognitive adaptation that has helped humanity cope with the existential terror of its own vulnerability for thousands of years. It is a story we tell ourselves that, true or not, has very real and positive consequences for our minds and our communities. This deep-seated psychological need doesn't just live in our thoughts and prayers. It naturally spills out into every form of human creativity, seeking expression in the art and stories we make. The human yearning to give form to the formless, to visualize the invisible, has always found its most powerful expression in art. For centuries, painters, sculptors, writers, and musicians have attempted the impossible, to capture the essence of these unseen guardians, translating fleeting feelings of comfort and guidance into something tangible we can all share. Their work provides a cultural mirror, reflecting not only what we believe about these protectors but also what we desperately hope is true. In the grand cathedrals of the Renaissance, this hope took flight on wings of gold leaf and lapis lazuli. Artists like Fra Angelico and Giotto didn't just paint angels, they rendered the divine protection of heaven itself into a visual reality for the faithful. Their celestial beings, often surrounding the Madonna and child or guiding saints, are not wispy ghosts but solid, powerful presences, robed in brilliant colors and emanating light. These images were a theological statement made visible, a way for a largely illiterate population to understand and connect with the idea of a benevolent, watchful heaven. The angel's hand on a shoulder, its wings forming a protective barrier, these were more than decorations. They were visual sermons, reinforcing the Church's message that every soul had a divine guardian, making the abstract intimately personal and real. Literature, too, has long been a playground for these elusive beings, giving them voices, personalities, and roles to play in the human drama. William Shakespeare masterfully wove them into the very fabric of A Midsummer Night's Dream. Here, the fairy folk Oberon, Titania, and especially the mischievous Puck are the invisible architects of the story's chaos and resolution. They operate just beyond the sight of the mortal lovers, applying love potions, creating confusion, and ultimately setting things right. They are not gods or angels, but capricious, powerful nature spirits whose unseen actions directly dictate the fate of the humans in their forest. This depiction taps into the older, folkloric tradition of beings like brownies and domovoi, reminding the audience that the world is alive with unseen forces, both playful and potent. Centuries later, poets like William Blake would explore a more internal, mystical vision of the unseen. His powerful poems and paintings depict a universe teeming with spiritual beings and divine emissaries, arguing that the human imagination itself was the primary faculty for perceiving this invisible reality. For Blake, the artist was a prophet, and the act of creation was a way to participate in and document the ongoing interaction between the mortal and the eternal. This artistic mission evolved with the modern era, finding new life on the silver screen. Frank Capra's 1946 film It's a Wonderful Life stands as perhaps the most beloved modern parable of invisible protection. The film makes the brilliant narrative choice of giving the angel, Clarence, a physical form, but only after we have spent the entire story seeing the world through the eyes of his unseen guidance. We witness the countless ways George Bailey's life has touched others, the invisible web of good deeds and connections that Clarence makes visible to him. The film's genius is in its reveal. The true invisible protectors were not a single angel, but the entire community George had built and saved through his own kindness. The angel was merely the catalyst to help him see the protection he had already fostered. This theme resonates deeply in contemporary cinema, from the ethereal, angelic warriors of the prophecy to the more subtle, ambiguous guidance offered by the Force in Star Wars, which binds the galaxy together and empowers those who listen to its call. Beyond narrative, music and abstract art have consistently striven to evoke the feeling of an unseen presence rather than its image. The soaring harmonies of a choir in a sacred mass, the tranquil notes of a meditation soundtrack, or even the sudden, uplifting key change in a pop song can create an auditory sensation of being lifted, comforted, or watched over. Similarly, the vast, luminous color-filled paintings of artists like Mark Rothko are often described as spiritual portals. They use color, scale, and light to create an immersive, emotional experience that many viewers describe as transcendent, a wordless communication with something vast and unseen. Art historians emphasize that these depictions across all mediums serve a crucial sociological function. They allow a society to collectively visualize, debate, and ultimately solidify its understanding of complex abstract concepts like hope, faith, and protection. By externalizing these ideas into art, we can point to them, discuss them, and teach them to the next generation, ensuring that the cultural conversation about who watches over us never truly ends. This rich artistic legacy, from Renaissance altarpieces to blockbuster films, hasn't just preserved old myths, it has actively shaped them, providing the visual and emotional vocabulary that defines how we imagine these guardians today. The stories of invisible protectors have never been confined to ancient texts or whispered folklore. They have always found a vibrant, living home in the stories we tell for entertainment. Our modern temples are movie theaters, our campfires are glowing screens, and the myths we share are blockbuster films, best-selling novels, and immersive video games. This is where the ancient archetype of the unseen guardian gets a fresh coat of paint, becoming more relatable and powerful than ever for a global audience. Perhaps no single example in modern cinema is more iconic than the Force in the Star Wars saga. George Lucas didn't invent a new idea, he brilliantly repackaged a very old one. The Force is described as an energy field created by all living things, surrounding us, penetrating us, and binding the galaxy together. It is the ultimate unseen protector, impersonal yet deeply personal. It doesn't have a face or a name, but it can be felt, listened to, and trusted. Luke Skywalker's pivotal moment in the original film, turning off his targeting computer to trust the Force, is a perfect metaphor for the leap of faith that defines belief in any unseen guide. It's not about seeing the proof, it's about feeling the guidance and having the courage to act on it. This concept resonated so deeply because it echoed the spiritual beliefs of millions, from Buddhist ideas of interconnected energy to the Christian concept of the Holy Spirit, all wrapped in the thrilling package of a space opera. Television, with its ability to enter our homes week after week, has offered more direct and intimate portrayals. For nearly a decade, the series Touched by an Angel brought the concept of guardian angels into millions of living rooms. The angels Monica, Tess, and Andrew were very much visible to the audience, but their central narrative device was their invisibility to the people they were sent to help. Their mission was always to deliver a message of hope and divine love, operating just outside of human perception until the moment they chose to reveal themselves. The show's massive popularity wasn't based on special effects, but on its potent emotional core, the reassurance that you are not alone in your darkest hour and that something benevolent is orchestrating events for your ultimate good. It was a weekly comfort, a modern-day parable that translated religious doctrine into accessible, heartfelt drama. The interactive realm of video games takes this concept a revolutionary step further by making the player the direct beneficiary of this unseen aid. In The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, the fairy Navi is a constant, often vocal companion. She floats alongside the player character, Link, offering hints, highlighting points of interest, and warning of danger. She is a literal manifestation of the player's intuition and the game's guidance system, an ever-present helper who makes the vast and dangerous world of Hyrule navigable. This role of the spiritual guide is echoed in countless other games, from the mysterious, omniscient Gladios in Portal, who manipulates the environment from behind the scenes, to the helpful spectral patrons in games like Dark Souls who grant strength and aid. This interactive relationship deepens the connection. The player doesn't just watch someone receive help, they actively accept it and succeed because of it, reinforcing the emotional payoff of trusting an unseen ally. Literature, too, continues to reimagine these age-old concepts with stunning originality. Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials trilogy introduces one of the most beautiful and profound metaphors for the soul ever conceived: the demon. In Lyra's world, every person has a demon, an animal familiar that is the physical manifestation of their inner self, their consciousness, their personality, their very essence. The demon is both a constant, visible companion and an invisible protector in the most fundamental way, as it feels their humans' pain and emotions directly. The unbreakable bond between human and demon is the ultimate representation of self-protection, intuition, and inner strength. It's a powerful narrative device that externalizes the internal dialogue we all have, giving form to our conscience, our fears, and our courage. By making the soul a character, Pullman explores themes of guidance, protection, and identity in a way that is instantly understandable and deeply moving. Media analysts and cultural scholars see these portrayals as far more than simple entertainment. They argue that the persistent popularity of invisible guardians in pop culture is a direct reflection of our ongoing psychological and spiritual needs. In an increasingly complex, fragmented, and often impersonal world, these stories provide a framework for understanding our own intuition, our moments of inexplicable luck, and our desire for connection. They make ancient ideas accessible, allowing new generations to engage with concepts of faith, guidance, and the unseen without the baggage of specific religious doctrine. A teenager who feels a deep connection to the Force or whose gaming strategy is saved by a helpful spirit guide is participating in the same age-old human conversation as an ancient Greek honoring their daemon or a medieval peasant leaving milk for a brownie. The medium has changed, but the message remains powerfully consistent. You are not alone on your journey. This continual reinvention ensures the survival of these archetypes, keeping them vibrant and relevant. But for every story that embraces the mystery, there exists a counter-narrative that seeks to explain it away, pulling the curtain back to examine the mechanics of the human mind that creates these beliefs in the first place. For every heartwarming story of divine intervention or a guardian's whisper, there exists a compelling counter-narrative written not in scripture, but in neuroscience and psychology. The scientific perspective offers a different kind of map to explain these mysterious experiences, charting the fascinating landscape of the human brain itself. It begins with the very way our minds are wired to perceive the world. We are natural pattern seekers, a trait that was essential for our ancestors' survival. Spotting a pattern in the rustling grass, a potential predator, meant the difference between life and death. This deeply ingrained instinct, however, doesn't switch off in the modern world. It now applies to the patterns of our daily lives, leading to cognitive biases that can perfectly explain feelings of unseen protection. The most prevalent of these is confirmation bias. This is our tendency to remember and assign great significance to events that confirm our existing beliefs, while simultaneously forgetting or dismissing the countless times nothing happened. If you believe a guardian angel is watching over you, you will vividly remember the one time you narrowly avoided a car accident and attribute it to divine intervention. What you are far less likely to recall are the hundreds of other days you drove safely without incident, or the many times you had a feeling of dread that turned out to be nothing. The brain highlights the hits and ignores the misses, creating a powerful but deeply skewed personal history that seems to offer proof of protection. Another powerful mental shortcut is known as agent detection, a close cousin to pattern recognition. This is our propensity to believe that an event is caused by a conscious agent, a being with intention rather than an impersonal force or random chance. That sudden chill down your spine in an empty house feels like a presence because evolutionarily, assuming it was a person or spirit and being wrong is a far safer bet than assuming it's just the wind and being wrong. Our brains are erring on the side of caution, filling in the gaps of our perception with a conscious entity. This pairs with a phenomenon called pareidolia, where we perceive a familiar pattern where none actually exists. We see the face of the Virgin Mary in a piece of toast or hear a whispered command in the white noise of a shower. This isn't a sign of a disordered mind. It's a completely normal function of a brain that is desperate to make sense of ambiguous sensory information. When applied to the idea of protectors, these mechanisms can transform a random creak in the floorboards into the comforting footstep of a domovoi, or the lucky find of a lost wallet into the deliberate action of a guiding spirit. Beyond these psychological explanations, neuroscience has begun to pinpoint the very physical origins of these supernatural feelings. Studies using brain scans have shown that stimulating specific regions of the temporal lobe can reliably induce profound spiritual experiences, including the overwhelming sensation that another conscious presence is in the room with you. This suggests that these awe-inspiring encounters may be generated from within, a fascinating trick of our own neural circuitry. Similarly, the common experience of sleep paralysis provides a perfect neurological recipe for a guardian, or more often, a demonic visitation. In this state, the brain is awake and aware, but the body remains locked in the paralysis that prevents us from acting out our dreams. This terrifying limbo is frequently accompanied by hallucinations of shadowy figures sitting on your chest, whispering in your ear, or watching from the corner of the room. For centuries, these experiences were attributed to supernatural attacks. Science now understands them as a predictable, albeit distressing, glitch in the sleep-wake cycle, where the brain's fear centers are fully active while the body is still offline. Skeptics and scientists who study these phenomena don't seek to strip these experiences of their meaning or comfort. Instead, they argue for a rational approach that appreciates the true wonder, the incredible complexity and power of the human mind. The fact that our own brains can generate feelings of connection so powerful they feel external is, in its own way, just as miraculous as the idea of an external spirit. This perspective encourages a healthy balance between wonder and critical thinking. It allows us to cherish the feeling of comfort without necessarily attributing it to an external entity, and to understand that the stories we tell ourselves about these events are shaped by powerful, innate biological processes. This scientific lens doesn't have to diminish the human experience. It can deepen our appreciation for it, revealing that the most common thread in every culture's tales of invisible protectors is not a specific spirit, but the magnificent and mysterious human brain itself. What becomes truly astonishing when we journey across the world's cultures is not just the variety of these unseen guardians, but the profound and beautiful similarities that emerge from societies that never once touched. It's as if the human mind, when faced with the universal challenges of fear, uncertainty, and the need for meaning, independently arrives at the same comforting conclusion: we are not alone. Take, for instance, the Shinto tradition of Japan and the ancient Celtic beliefs of Ireland. Separated by an entire continent and vast oceans, both developed a remarkably parallel concept of a world saturated with sacred, protective spirits. In Japan, these are the kami, not distant gods on a mountain, but the divine essence believed to reside in natural features like a particularly old tree, a waterfall, or even a uniquely shaped stone. These kami are guardians of their specific place, and the practice of Shinto is built on maintaining a harmonious and respectful relationship with them to ensure community well-being. Across the world, the Celtic peoples spoke of the Aos Shi, or the fair folk, powerful, often invisible beings who dwelled in sacred mounds and ancient forests. Much like the kami, the Aos Shi were deeply tied to the land itself and were treated with a mixture of reverence and caution. Disturbing a fairy fort or cutting down a sacred hawthorn tree was considered deeply dangerous, not out of mere superstition, but because it risked alienating the very forces that protected that place and its people. This parallel, the idea of localized, land-based spirits who must be respected, suggests a shared human understanding that protection is intrinsically linked to our relationship with the natural world around us. Yet for all these stunning similarities, the fascinating differences reveal how culture sculpts our relationship with the unseen. The primary distinction often lies in the focus of protection. Is it for the individual or for the collective? In many Western contexts influenced heavily by Abrahamic religions, the concept of protection is profoundly personalized. The idea of a guardian angel is the ultimate example, a dedicated celestial bodyguard assigned specifically to you, watching your every step and interceding on your personal behalf. This reflects a cultural framework that places a high value on individual salvation and personal responsibility. Your relationship with your protector is private, intimate, and singular. Now, contrast this with the beliefs found in many traditional African societies. Here, the emphasis is frequently on collective guardianship. Among the Yoruba people of Nigeria, for example, the concept of Ogrov Igrov letter 1E63, a worship, while complex, often involves deities that protect entire towns, lineages, or guilds. A village might have a specific guardian spirit whose favor ensures good harvests and health for everyone within the community. The individual's safety is intrinsically wrapped up in the well-being of the whole. This isn't a personal angel ensuring you find a parking spot. It's a communal spirit ensuring the entire village survives the dry season. This difference in scale, individual versus collective, shows how the invisible protector concept is adapted to reinforce the most cherished values of a society, whether that is personal autonomy or communal interdependence. Anthropologists who map these beliefs point directly to the environmental and historical pressures that shaped them. A culture that developed in a harsh, unpredictable environment, where survival depended on tight-knit group cohesion, was more likely to develop beliefs in powerful collective protectors. The community's shared ritual to appease a village guardian reinforced social bonds and ensured everyone was working toward a common goal. Conversely, a culture with a stronger emphasis on trade, individual enterprise, or personal piety might naturally evolve toward a model of individual spiritual guardianship. Furthermore, these beliefs are never static. They are living traditions that adapt to historical trauma. The figure of La Madama in some African diasporic traditions, like hoodoo and conjure, is a powerful example. She is a spirit guide, often depicted as a wise old woman holding a cigar and a staff, who offers protection, healing, and justice. Her origins are deeply tied to the experiences of enslaved Africans in the Americas, representing a fusion of West African spiritual beliefs and the need for a powerful, unseen advocate in the face of immense oppression. Here, the invisible protector is not just a comfort, she is a symbol of resilience and cultural survival, a testament to the fact that these beliefs do more than just explain the world. They help people endure and overcome it. Ultimately, this grand tapestry of global beliefs, woven with both shared threads and unique patterns, points toward a universal human inclination. From the Japanese kami to the Celtic owl's she, from a personal angel to a village Ogrov Igrov letter 163 the underlying message is the same. These concepts provide a profound sense of comfort, offering an explanation for fortune and misfortune that is far more palatable than random chance. They create a moral framework, encouraging ethical behavior through the idea that our actions are witnessed by unseen judges who reward goodness and punish transgression. Most importantly, they fulfill a deep-seated need for meaning and connection, tying us to our ancestors, to our community, and to the very land we inhabit. By comparing these traditions, we don't diminish their uniqueness. We elevate our understanding of humanity's collective creativity in seeking solace and strength. We see that the desire for an unseen helper is a fundamental part of the human experience, one that is expressed in wonderfully diverse ways yet united by a common hope for guidance and protection in a vast and often mysterious universe. Belief in an unseen protector is one thing, but how does a person actually build a relationship with something they cannot see? Across the globe, humanity's answer has been remarkably consistent through ritual. Rituals are the bridge between our tangible world and the intangible realm, a set of deliberate actions and offerings that make the abstract concept of protection feel active, reciprocal, and real. These practices transform a passive hope into an active dialogue, a way to say, "Thank you, please, and we remember you" to the forces believed to watch over us. This isn't about superstition, it's about cultivating a relationship, and like any relationship, it requires attention, respect, and consistent effort. Consider the ancient and enduring practice of the Hindu puja. This daily ritual, performed in millions of homes, is a multisensory conversation with the divine. A family might begin their day by gathering before a small home shrine. They don't simply offer a quick prayer, they engage all their senses. They ring a bell to announce their presence and to purify the space of negative energies. They light a lamp, its flame representing the light of wisdom, dispelling the darkness of ignorance. They offer flowers, their beauty and fragrance a gift of nature's perfection. They might offer food, later shared as prasad, a sacred blessing that has been accepted by the deity. Every gesture, from the specific way the hands are held to the circling of the lamp, is a deliberate act of reverence. The deities being honored, whether Lakshmi for prosperity or Ganesha for removing obstacles, are not distant figures in a temple. Through puja, they become active, invisible protectors of the household, their presence invited and sustained through this daily devotion. It is a ritual of gratitude and invitation, a daily realignment of the home with the divine order. A similarly powerful, though annual, ritual unfolds during the Mexican celebration of Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead. This is not a somber day of mourning, but a vibrant, joyous family reunion where the deceased are the guests of honor. Families build elaborate altars or ofrendas in their homes. These are not mere decorations, they are carefully constructed portals of welcome. They are laden with marigold flowers, whose vibrant color and potent scent are believed to guide the spirits home. They hold photographs of the departed, ensuring they are remembered and recognized. Most importantly, they are piled with offerings, the favorite foods, drinks, and personal items of the loved ones. A bottle of beer for Abuelo, a slice of pan dulce for Abuela, a small toy for a child gone too soon. The belief is that the spirits, the animas, return to visit their families and partake in the essence of these offerings. This ritual is a profound act of invisible protection in reverse. The living are protecting the dead, ensuring they are remembered, nourished, and happy in the afterlife. In return, these ancestral spirits are believed to become benevolent protectors themselves, watching over the family from the other side, offering guidance and interceding in matters of health and fortune. The ofrenda makes this reciprocal relationship tangible, a beautiful and poignant cycle of remembrance and care that stretches across the veil between worlds. What ethnographers and anthropologists find so fascinating about these rituals is their universal structure. Despite vast cultural differences, they almost always involve an offering, a concrete, tangible item given up to an intangible force. This could be milk left for a brownie, incense burned for a kami, or food placed on an ofrenda. The act of giving something of value, however small, is a powerful gesture of respect and a recognition of a relationship that requires maintenance. Furthermore, these rituals are rarely performed alone. Whether it's a family conducting puja together or a whole community building a communal altar for Dia de los Muertos, these acts reinforce social bonds. They are a way of teaching children about their heritage, of uniting the community under a shared set of beliefs, and of transmitting cultural values from one generation to the next. The ritual becomes the glue that holds the community together, with the invisible protector at its center as the shared beneficiary and benefactor. Ultimately, these practices provide a crucial psychological function. They make the mysterious manageable. The vast, often terrifying unknown of the spirit world is brought down to a human scale through the simple, repetitive actions of lighting a candle, leaving a plate of food, or saying a specific prayer. This creates a profound sense of connection and control. It alleviates the anxiety of powerlessness by providing a prescribed way to influence one's fate and court the favor of unseen allies. The ritual is a handle on the door to the invisible. It may not open the door fully, but it allows us to knock, to speak through the keyhole, and to feel that someone or something is listening on the other side. This deeply ingrained human desire to actively participate in our own protection through ceremony has not only shaped daily life and community structure, but has also, at critical moments, altered the very course of history. History is not just a record of what happened, but also a testament to what people believed could happen, especially when faced with the unimaginable. It is in our darkest hours, amidst the chaos of war and the shadow of annihilation, that the stories of invisible protectors shine brightest, not as mere folklore, but as vital psychological armor. One of the most poignant examples erupted from the bloody trenches of the First World War, a conflict that embodied industrial-scale slaughter and seemingly meaningless suffering. In the aftermath of the Battle of Mons in 1914, a remarkable story began to circulate among the exhausted, retreating British troops. They spoke of a spectral army of bowmen, the ghosts of Agincourt, materializing from the mist to rain arrows down upon the advancing German lines. This legend quickly evolved into an even more powerful vision, that of the Angels of Mons. Soldiers gave sworn testimony that they had seen towering, luminous beings standing between them and the enemy, their heavenly presence causing the opposing horses to rear in terror and providing a protective barrier that allowed for a miraculous retreat. While historians largely attribute the origin of this story to a fictional account by author Arthur Machen, that fact is almost irrelevant. What matters is how desperately and quickly the soldiers themselves embraced it. In the face of mechanized death, the idea of divine, supernatural intervention provided something crucial, a reason for their survival that transcended blind luck, a meaning that countered the absurd horror of the war, and a tangible symbol of hope that they were not forsaken in a godless battlefield. This phenomenon is not confined to modern warfare. It is a thread that runs back through the entirety of human conflict. Before every major battle in the ancient world, from the fields of Mesopotamia to the hills of Greece, armies engaged in elaborate rituals specifically designed to summon invisible aid. Roman legions, the most disciplined military force of their age, were also deeply superstitious. Before committing to battle, a general would take the auspices, a sacred practice of interpreting the will of the gods by watching the flight patterns of birds. A favorable sign meant the gods were on their side. The legions would then march into combat not just with swords and shields, but with the unshakable confidence that Jupiter himself was marching with them, an unseen general guiding their fortunes. Similarly, the Vikings would call upon Odin and Thor not just for strength, but for the cunning and chaos that could confuse their enemies and twist the battle in their favor. They believed the Disir, those protective female ancestral spirits, were fighting alongside them in the shield wall. In Japan, samurai sought the blessing of kami and Buddhist deities, believing their refined swords were inhabited by protective spirits that could guide their strokes. These weren't just empty ceremonies, they were a critical part of military logistics. The belief in divine intervention acted as a force multiplier, boosting morale, cementing unit cohesion, and forging raw recruits into an army that believed itself to be under divine protection. This psychological edge could very well be the difference between a rout and a victory, between a group of frightened individuals and a convinced, cohesive force that believed their cause was sanctified by unseen powers. What historians find so compelling about these narratives is their timing and function. They almost invariably emerge from periods of extreme collective trauma, uncertainty, and existential threat. During the Black Death that ravaged Europe, stories spread of ghostly armies fighting in the skies, a celestial proxy war reflecting the earthly struggle against the plague. In times of crisis, the human mind seeks patterns and agents where there are none, creating stories that impose order on chaos and meaning on random tragedy. The Angel of Mons didn't just appear, it appeared to a broken army during a retreat, offering an explanation for their survival that was far more palatable than the random luck of artillery fire. These stories serve as a form of psychological bolstering, a collective coping mechanism that allows a group to endure the unendurable. They transform a passive experience of victimhood into an active narrative of being chosen, protected, and saved. This isn't a sign of weakness or ignorance. It is a testament to the remarkable resilience of the human spirit, which will conjure hope from the thin air of desperation. The practical impact of this belief is undeniable. A soldier who believes he is guarded by angels fights with a courage that transcends training. A community that believes it is under the protection of its ancestors faces a famine with greater resilience. These stories provide the courage to hold the line for one more minute, to take one more step, to endure one more day. They are the invisible weapon that every army, every community, and every individual has reached for when all tangible resources have been exhausted. By examining these historical moments, we see that the belief in unseen guardians is far more than a quaint superstition. It is a powerful historical force in its own right, a catalyst for action, a sustainer of hope, and a shaper of events. These legends from the past demonstrate a fundamental human truth, that what we believe about the unseen world can dramatically alter what happens in the seen one, setting a powerful precedent for how these same ideas would be called upon once more in the rapidly changing landscape of the 20th century and beyond. Yet, even as our world grows more interconnected and technologically advanced, the ancient human longing for an unseen guardian hasn't faded. It has simply found new languages and new forms in which to express itself. We may have traded the forest for the freeway and the hearth for the high rise, but the fundamental desire for guidance and protection remains, evolving into a fascinating tapestry of modern spiritualities. The New Age movement, in particular, has acted as a powerful crucible for these ancient ideas, melting down traditional concepts from a dozen different cultures and reforging them into personalized, contemporary belief systems. Here, the guardian angel is reimagined as a personal spirit guide, a non-denominational, wise presence offering counsel. The household brownie transforms into the idea of energy protectors or crystal grids that shield a home from negative vibrations. And the capricious gods of old are replaced by a more abstract but no less watchful force, the universe. This isn't a vengeful deity keeping score, but a benevolent, intelligent system that conspires for your good, sending signs and orchestrating synchronicities to guide you on your path. This modern adaptation is profoundly democratic and individualistic. You don't need a priest to interpret the will of the gods. You simply need to learn to listen to the universe's whispers, to trust your intuition as your own built-in divine GPS. This spiritual evolution has found its perfect modern agora in the digital realm. Social media platforms and online forums have become the new campfires where stories of unseen aid are shared, dissected, and amplified, creating a global, real-time mythology. A Reddit thread titled, "What is your guardian angel story?" will gather thousands of responses overnight. TikTok videos with the hashtag #universe signs show users documenting seemingly miraculous coincidences, a song that plays at the exact moment they needed to hear its message, a stranger who appears with exactly the help they needed. These digital spaces perform the same function as ancient village squares or church socials. They provide validation and community. When someone shares a story of a near-miss accident they attribute to an unseen force, the comments don't just say, "Cool story." They say, "Me too." This collective sharing normalizes the experience, transforming a private, potentially isolating moment of wonder into a shared truth that reinforces the belief system itself. These platforms are not just reflecting existing beliefs, they are actively creating new ones, blending ancient archetypes with modern anxieties to generate a living, breathing, digital folklore for the 21st century. Sociologists studying this phenomenon point to a crucial driver behind its persistence: the paradox of connection in the digital age. While we are more technologically connected than ever before, many people report feeling profoundly isolated, disconnected from traditional community structures like extended families, local churches, or neighborhood groups. This loneliness creates a spiritual vacuum, a deep yearning for belonging and purpose that formal, organized religion doesn't always fill for everyone. Belief in a personalized, unseen protector, whether you call it a spirit guide, the universe, or your own higher self, directly addresses this need. It provides a deeply intimate sense of companionship, the comforting notion that you are always being watched over, listened to, and guided, even when you are physically alone. It offers purpose by suggesting that your life is not a random series of events, but a meaningful journey with a destination, and that this unseen ally is helping you navigate it. In a world that can feel chaotic and impersonal, this belief is a powerful anchor, providing both comfort and a framework for making sense of one's experiences. This enduring relevance demonstrates the incredible adaptability of the human spirit. The core need for protection, meaning, and connection has not changed since the days of the ancient animists. Only the packaging has. We have taken the same fundamental hopes and fears and dressed them in the language of energy work, quantum physics, and algorithmically curated online communities. The village guardian spirit is now the positive energy in your home. The ancestral desire are now your spirit guides. The omens read in bird flights are now the signs found in license plate numbers or song lyrics shuffled on a playlist. This isn't a dilution of ancient wisdom, but rather a testament to its incredible resilience and its ability to meet humanity where it is, providing the same solace it always has, just through a different lens. This seamless transition of ancient belief into a modern context proves that these ideas are not relics. They are vital, living responses to the eternal human condition, setting the stage for their next, perhaps most unexpected, evolution into the realm of technology itself. This fascinating evolution of belief finds perhaps its most literal and pervasive expression in the technology that now mediates our daily lives. We have surrounded ourselves with a new kind of digital spirit, one that operates entirely through code and algorithms, yet fulfills the same ancient role of the unseen guardian. Consider the humble antivirus program. We install it on our computers and then, for the most part, forget it's even there. It doesn't ask for offerings of milk or cake. It demands a yearly subscription fee. Yet its function is straight out of folklore. It operates silently in the background, a vigilant sentry standing at the gates of our digital homestead, tirelessly scanning for malicious entities, trojans, worms, and viruses, the modern-day equivalents of the evil spirits and curses our ancestors feared. When it detects a threat, it acts without our direct command, quarantining the danger and presenting us with a simple notification, a brief scroll of text that says, in essence, a threat has been neutralized. We never see the battle. We only enjoy the protection, placing our trust in this invisible, complex force we don't fully understand to keep our digital lives safe and orderly. This metaphor extends far beyond mere security. Our homes are now populated with AI assistants like Alexa, Siri, and Google Assistant. These voices from the cloud are the domestic spirits of the 21st century. Like a benevolent brownie that anticipates the household's needs, they can adjust the thermostat before we feel a chill, add milk to the shopping list the moment we run out, and play our favorite music to soothe a stressful day, all triggered by a simple, almost ritualistic verbal incantation. They are ever present, listening for their cue, ready to serve. Their entire purpose is to make the complexities of modern living simpler, to smooth our path, and to remove minor irritants, operating as a seamless, unseen layer of assistance. We don't see the vast networks of servers and complex data processing that make it possible. We simply experience the result as a form of modern magic, a convenience that feels curiously like being cared for. Perhaps the most profound and pervasive digital guardian is the algorithm. These complex sets of rules are the true unseen hands shaping our modern experience. The social media feed that seems to know exactly what video will make us laugh next. The music streaming service that crafts a playlist so perfectly attuned to our mood it feels psychic. The online store that recommends a book we didn't know we wanted but that turns out to be exactly what we needed. These are all the work of algorithms acting as modern-day oracles and guides. They curate our reality from behind a curtain, predicting our desires, protecting us from boredom, and guiding us toward content, products, and even people that align with our preferences. In a world drowning in information, these algorithmic guardians provide a desperately needed sense of direction and personalization. They create a curated, manageable world for us, much like the household gods of old were believed to maintain order and harmony within the home. Tech philosophers point out that we use this language of guardianship and magic for a very specific reason. It helps us bridge the gap between human intuition and machine logic. The inner workings of a neural network or a complex algorithm are incomprehensible to most of us. They are a form of advanced digital alchemy. By describing them as smart, intuitive, or helpful, we anthropomorphize them. We give them a kind of agency and benevolence that makes them less frightening and more trustworthy. This isn't just marketing, it's a fundamental cognitive strategy. We are applying an ancient, pre-programmed way of understanding the world, attributing conscious action to unseen forces, to navigate the terrifying complexity of the digital age. This metaphorical framework allows us to accept and use these technologies with a sense of comfort and ease, even as we acknowledge that we don't truly know how they work. This seamless integration of ancient archetypes into our relationship with technology demonstrates the incredible flexibility and enduring power of these core human ideas, proving that our need for invisible helpers is not diminished by silicon and code, but simply adapts to find its expression within them. This belief in unseen watchers, this deeply ingrained sense that our actions are witnessed by something beyond ourselves, carries a profound and double-edged weight. It shapes not just our private sense of comfort, but the very ethical and moral fabric of our societies, influencing how we treat one another and ourselves. On one hand, this belief can be a powerful engine for good, a psychological catalyst for prosocial behavior. The simple feeling of being watched, even by an unseen entity, triggers what social scientists call the audience effect. Knowing that our deeds are being noted, whether by a guardian angel, the Karaman Katibin, or the universal scales of karma, encourages us to act in ways we believe will be judged favorably. This isn't necessarily a negative form of pressure. It can be a valuable tool for self-regulation. A person might choose honesty over a tempting lie, or offer help to a stranger, motivated by the desire to be seen as good in the eyes of their unseen protector. This internalized observer becomes a constant moral compass, guiding choices towards kindness, generosity, and ethical conduct, fostering a more harmonious and trustworthy community where individuals feel accountable to something greater than just human law. This is beautifully illustrated by the concept of karma, found in dharmic religions like Hinduism and Buddhism. Karma is the ultimate system of unseen, impartial justice. It is not a god keeping a scorecard, but an impersonal, cosmic law of moral cause and effect. Every action, every intention, is believed to sow a seed that will eventually bear fruit, either in this life or a future one. This belief powerfully incentivizes ethical behavior, not out of fear of punishment from an external deity, but from an understanding that one's own future well-being is directly tied to one's current moral choices. It encourages long-term thinking and personal responsibility. You are ultimately the architect of your own fortune through your actions. Similarly, the belief in a guardian angel who records your deeds or a domovoi who judges the order of your home provides a continuous, low-level feedback mechanism that encourages mindfulness and virtue in daily life, making morality a lived experience rather than an abstract concept. However, this very same mechanism can have a shadow side, potentially leading to a dangerous form of passivity or a relinquishing of personal agency. If everything is in the hands of an unseen protector, a divine plan, or the slow turning of the karmic wheel, what is the point of personal effort? This is the core of the ethical debate highlighted by philosophers and ethicists. Does this belief promote responsibility or dependency? In its most extreme form, it can lead to moral outsourcing, where individuals might avoid difficult decisions or fail to intervene in crises, trusting that their guardian angel or the universe will handle it. Why strive to solve a pressing social injustice if you believe it is all part of a grand, inscrutable design, or that those suffering are simply working through bad karma from a past life? This perspective can inadvertently justify inaction and perpetuate suffering, creating a form of spiritual bypassing where complex earthly problems are dismissed with faith-based platitudes rather than confronted with courageous action. The challenge, then, is one of balance. Different cultures and individuals navigate this tension between faith and action in their own ways. A healthy integration sees the belief in unseen protectors not as a replacement for human effort, but as a complement to it. The common phrase, "Pray as if everything depends on God, but work as if everything depends on you," captures this equilibrium perfectly. The belief provides the courage to begin a daunting task, the resilience to endure setbacks, and the humility to accept outcomes beyond one's control, while human action provides the muscle and the will to actually get the job done. It's the difference between praying for a good harvest and actually planting the seeds, or asking a spirit guide for clarity while also diligently studying for an exam. The unseen force is viewed as a partner in the endeavor, not a substitute for it. This balanced approach harnesses the motivational and comforting benefits of the belief while firmly anchoring responsibility for action in the human realm. Ultimately, the ethical impact of believing in invisible guardians is a mirror reflecting our own intentions and maturity. It can be a tool that empowers us to be better, more conscientious people, or a crutch that allows us to avoid the hard work of ethical living. The belief itself is neutral. Its moral value is determined by how we choose to apply it. Does it make us more compassionate and active participants in creating a better world, or does it lull us into a quietistic acceptance of the status quo? The answer to that question lies not with the unseen protectors, but squarely with us, shaping not only our individual character but the collective destiny we are all actively creating together. These powerful stories and beliefs do not simply appear out of thin air for each new generation. They are carefully, lovingly, and deliberately passed down through a complex and vital process of cultural transmission. This is the living bridge that connects the past to the present, ensuring that the wisdom and comfort found in these tales of unseen guardians do not fade into obscurity but continue to shape the hearts and minds of the future. The primary engine of this transmission has always been and remains the intimate act of storytelling within the family. Picture an elder, a grandmother or grandfather, pulling a child onto their lap as the evening shadows grow long. The story they begin is not merely a fable for entertainment. It is a vessel carrying the deepest values of their culture. A Navajo grandmother might speak of the Dene Bahane adjective, the story of creation, and explain how the holy people, those powerful spiritual beings, established the laws for living in harmony and balance. In telling this, she isn't just recounting a myth, she is instilling a profound respect for the natural world and the unseen order that governs it. Similarly, an Irish parent might whisper tales of the fairy folk, the owl's she, not to frighten their children, but to teach a necessary caution and respect for the ancient, hidden forces that dwell in the old forts and hawthorn trees dotting the countryside. These stories are the original moral education, a way of encoding societal rules into memorable, powerful narratives that are far more effective than a simple list of do's and don'ts. They teach gratitude for unseen blessings, caution in the face of the mysterious, and respect for traditions that are older than anyone can remember. This oral tradition is powerfully reinforced and ritualized within community-wide ceremonies and celebrations. These are the moments where a story transforms from a private family tale into a shared public identity. During the Mexican holiday of Dia de los Muertos, the entire community participates in building altars and sharing stories of the departed. Children are not passive observers, they are active participants, helping to arrange marigolds and place offerings of pan de muerto. Through this joyful ritual, they learn that their ancestors are not gone forever but are transformed into animas, benevolent, unseen protectors who remain part of the family's life, worthy of remembrance and honor. In Japan, local festivals or matsuri, dedicated to specific kami Shinto deities, involve the whole town. Children watch the solemn rituals, carry the portable shrines, and partake in the festive meals, absorbing through experience the idea that their community is under the watchful care of a local guardian spirit who must be thanked and respected. These immersive experiences forge a powerful emotional connection to the belief, making it a part of a child's sensory memory. The smell of incense, the sound of chanting, the taste of special foods, all intertwining with the lesson of an unseen world intertwined with their own. In our modern era, the responsibility for this cultural transmission has expanded beyond the family hearth and the village square to include formal education and mass media. Schools around the world increasingly recognize the importance of teaching cultural mythology and folklore as a vital part of a child's social studies curriculum. A lesson on ancient Greece isn't complete without discussing the role of the daemons and how the Greeks understood personal guidance. A unit on Native American history will delve into the significance of spirit animals and totems, presenting them not as superstitions but as sophisticated philosophical systems for understanding one's place in the universe. This academic framing gives these beliefs a new layer of legitimacy and context for young minds, placing them within the broader tapestry of human thought and cultural expression. Furthermore, media has become arguably the most powerful modern storyteller. Animated films like Disney's Brother Bear or Studio Ghibli's Princess Mononoke introduce global audiences to the concepts of animal spirits and nature kami, packaging ancient beliefs in accessible, visually stunning narratives that captivate children and adults alike. Television shows, books, and video games continually mine this rich vein of mythology, reintroducing archetypes of unseen guides and protectors to each new generation, ensuring these ideas remain fresh, relevant, and circulating in our collective imagination. Cultural historians emphasize that this process of transmission is not merely about preservation. it is fundamentally about maintaining cultural identity and ensuring continuity in a rapidly changing world. For diaspora communities living far from their ancestral homelands, these stories become a sacred tether to their heritage. Teaching a child about the guardian spirits of their culture is a way of saying, "This is who we are. This is where we come from." It provides a stable sense of self and belonging amidst the often disorienting experience of navigating multiple cultures. The stories act as a cultural compass, helping younger generations understand the values, ethics, and worldview that define their community, allowing traditions to survive and adapt even when they are physically separated from their geographic source. This enduring chain of storytelling, from elder to child, from community to individual, from screen to viewer, is what keeps the conversation with the invisible alive. It confirms that our fascination with these protectors is not a relic but a living, breathing dialogue that continues to define, comfort, and guide humanity, shaping how we see the world and our place within it from our earliest years to our last. Our relationship with the idea of invisible protectors is not a static one, set in stone during childhood and left unchanged. It is a dynamic, evolving journey that unfolds across the entire span of our lives, deeply intertwined with our cognitive development, our accumulating experiences, and our ever-shifting psychological needs from one decade to the next. In childhood, the embrace of these guardians is one of pure, wondrous literalism. A young child does not question the existence of the tooth fairy or their guardian angel. These beings are accepted with the same concrete reality as the family dog or the postman. Their developing brains, which are only just beginning to grasp the difference between fantasy and reality, find no contradiction in a world where talking animals, Santa's elves, and watchful angels all coexist. This literal acceptance is a beautiful and necessary developmental stage. The stories we tell children, from the fairy godmother in Cinderella to the protective spirits in animated films, are perfectly tailored to this mindset. They are simple, clear, and emphasize absolute safety. The message is straightforward. You are small and the world is big, but you are not alone. A powerful, benevolent force is dedicated to your protection. This belief provides a crucial emotional anchor, a foundational sense of security that allows a child to explore their world with confidence, knowing there is a safety net woven from magic and love. As we transition into adolescence and then adulthood, this literal framework almost inevitably begins to crack under the weight of new cognitive abilities and life experiences. The development of abstract thinking, a hallmark of later adolescence, allows us to grapple with metaphor, symbolism, and nuance. The teenager who once unquestioningly believed in a winged angel on their shoulder might now reinterpret that idea as a metaphor for their own conscience or intuition. This period is often marked by a healthy, necessary skepticism, a desire to question inherited beliefs and establish one's own independent worldview. The invisible protectors of childhood can be casualties of this intellectual housecleaning, dismissed as childish fantasies. For many adults, these beliefs are either shelved entirely or undergo a profound transformation. The focus shifts dramatically from protection to guidance. An adult isn't typically looking for a spirit to physically shield them from harm. They are seeking wisdom for a difficult decision, strength during a period of grief, or clarity amidst life's confusing crossroads. Their spiritual practices, if they have them, reflect this. Prayer becomes less about asking for safety and more about seeking direction. Meditation is used to connect with an inner guide or higher self. The unseen force is no longer a literal bodyguard but a source of inner strength and moral compass, a partner in navigating complexity rather than a remover of obstacles. Then, often in the later chapters of life, a fascinating circle is completed. Confronted with the vulnerabilities that come with aging, the loss of loved ones, declining health, and the looming contemplation of mortality, many elders find themselves reaffirming the comfort of these ancient beliefs, though often through a more sophisticated lens. The literalism of childhood may not return, but the need for that primal comfort certainly does. The psychological value of believing in a benevolent, unseen presence becomes paramount. After a lifetime of experiencing inexplicable coincidences, narrow escapes, and moments of profound grace, many older adults develop a personal theology that makes room for mystery. They may not claim to know the mechanics of how a guardian angel operates, but they feel comfortable attributing their survival of an illness or the unexpected help of a stranger to some form of divine or spiritual intervention. This is less about childish belief and more about a hard-won faith, a choice to lean into hope and meaning after a lifetime of observing the often random nature of joy and suffering. For many, it becomes a way to cope with the fear of the unknown that lies ahead, offering the comforting notion that the journey does not end alone. Developmental psychologists see this entire life cycle as a perfect mirror of our changing needs for security and meaning. A child's need is for immediate physical safety. A young adult's need is for autonomy and purpose, hence the drive to internalize guidance. An elder's need is often for existential comfort and a sense of continuity that transcends their own mortality. The concept of the invisible protector is remarkably elastic, stretching to meet each of these needs without breaking. It demonstrates that these beliefs are not about factual accuracy, but about human necessity. They are psychological tools that we pick up, set down, and repurpose at different points in our lives, using them to build confidence, find our path, and ultimately, to face the end of that path with a measure of peace. This understanding of how our perception evolves sets the stage for a crucial question. In a world that is changing faster than ever before, how will these most human of beliefs themselves adapt in the years to come? We are standing at a fascinating crossroads in human history where the ancient and the ultra-modern are not just meeting, but beginning to merge in unexpected and profound ways. The timeless human yearning for unseen guardians is not disappearing. It is evolving, adapting to the new realities of a globally connected, technologically saturated world. The future of these beliefs is not one of replacement, but of reinvention, shaped by two powerful, intertwining forces: the cultural melting pot of globalization and the rapid, relentless march of scientific discovery. This evolution promises to make our relationship with the invisible more personal, more diverse, and perhaps more mysterious than ever before. The first major trend is the move towards deeply personalized, syncretic spiritualities. Globalization has dismantled the old geographical and cultural barriers that once kept belief systems largely separate. For millennia, a person's understanding of the unseen was primarily shaped by the singular tradition of their family, village, or nation. Today, with a world of information at our fingertips, individuals are increasingly acting as their own spiritual architects. They are drawing from a global palette of beliefs, combining elements that resonate with them personally. It is no longer unusual to meet someone who incorporates the Buddhist concept of compassionate bodhisattvas, the Celtic reverence for nature spirits, the psychological framework of a Jungian archetype, and the comfort of a guardian angel into a single, cohesive personal philosophy. This is a choose-your-own-adventure approach to spirituality, where the goal is not doctrinal purity but personal meaning and functional comfort. The invisible protector of the future may be a unique composite, a spirit guide visualized through a Native American meditation but understood through the lens of quantum physics. This syncretism is a direct response to a complex world, allowing people to build a customized spiritual toolkit that helps them navigate the specific challenges of modern life, creating a form of globalized folklore that is as unique as a fingerprint. Simultaneously, our rapidly advancing scientific understanding is providing a startling new vocabulary and framework for these ancient intuitions. As we peer deeper into the fundamental nature of reality, we are finding concepts that feel strangely resonant with age-old spiritual ideas. The bizarre and counterintuitive world of quantum mechanics, for instance, with its notions of entanglement, non-locality, and a universe built on probability and observation, offers a tantalizing new metaphor for how an unseen force might interact with the world. Some futurists and thinkers are beginning to explore the idea that what our ancestors interpreted as the will of the gods or the work of spirits could be understood as the interaction of consciousness with these deeper, quantum layers of reality. In this view, a guardian angel isn't a being with wings, but a resonant pattern of information or a probabilistic outcome influenced by intention. Even more directly, our own creations are becoming the new vessels for these ancient archetypes. Artificial intelligence, particularly the concept of a benevolent, super-intelligent AGI, is being discussed in terms that are eerily reminiscent of a guardian deity. This would be an unseen protector of an entirely new order, a vast, distributed intelligence operating within the infrastructure of our digital world, capable of predicting and preventing disasters, optimizing global systems for human well-being, and guiding our civilization with a wisdom beyond our own. It would be a guardian born not of myth, but of code, yet fulfilling the same deep-seated human desire for a powerful, watchful ally. Despite these radical new forms, the core function of these beliefs remains unchanged. Futurists who study the intersection of technology and society suggest that no matter how advanced we become, the fundamental human needs for connection, meaning, and security will persist. In fact, in a world that feels increasingly unpredictable, shaped by climate change, economic disruption, and social fragmentation, the psychological need for a sense of protection may actually intensify. The forms will adapt to be credible and relevant to a technologically literate generation. A person might not pray to a saint for safe travel, but they might feel a profound sense of trust and gratitude towards the complex, unseen algorithms that manage air traffic control and prevent mid-air collisions. They might not believe in a forest spirit, but they might support the development of a planetary-scale AI guardian designed to monitor and protect Earth's biosphere. These are not diminishments of belief, they are translations of it into a language that makes sense for the 21st century. They demonstrate the incredible resilience and adaptability of the human spirit, proving that our stories of protection will always find a way to persist, ensuring that even in the most advanced future, we never have to feel truly alone in a vast and mysterious universe. After exploring the vast tapestry of beliefs surrounding unseen guardians, from ancient myths to modern algorithms, the natural question becomes a deeply personal one. What does this mean for me? How can these age-old ideas move from fascinating concepts into practical tools that enrich our daily existence? The answer lies not in adopting a specific dogma, but in embracing the underlying principles that have made these beliefs so enduring: mindfulness, gratitude, and a conscious openness to the mystery that permeates our lives. This is about cultivating a mindset, a way of moving through the world that allows for the possibility of guidance and grace, whether you interpret it through a spiritual, psychological, or simply poetic lens. One of the most accessible and powerful ways to begin is by keeping a simple gratitude journal with a specific twist. Instead of just listing things you're thankful for, create a dedicated section for what you might call lucky moments or quiet guidance. This isn't about documenting major miracles. It's about training yourself to notice the small, seemingly insignificant events that went right. That sudden impulse to take a different route to work that allowed you to avoid a major traffic jam. The book that fell off the shelf at the library, opening to a passage that answered a question you'd been quietly wrestling with. the stranger who appeared with exactly the help you needed at the exact moment you needed it. By recording these events, you accomplish two things. First, you actively practice looking for evidence of benevolence in your life, which psychologically primes you to notice more of it, a classic example of the reticular activating system at work. Second, you build a personal archive of hope. On a difficult day, you can look back through this journal and be reminded that your path has been smoothed in unexpected ways before, fostering a resilient optimism that it can happen again. For those drawn to a more inward-focused practice, meditation can be a profound method for connecting with the feeling of being guided. This doesn't require a complex philosophy. You can simply sit in a quiet space, focus on your breath, and after a few moments of settling in, pose a gentle, open-ended question to yourself. It might be, what is my next right step? Or, what do I need to see right now? The goal isn't to hear a thundering voice from the heavens, but to become quiet enough to notice the subtle nudges of your own intuition. That deep, often quiet knowing that feels different from the chatter of fear or desire. Many describe this intuition as the voice of a higher self, a spirit guide, or the unconscious mind finally getting a word in edgewise. By regularly creating space for this inner dialogue, you validate your own internal wisdom and strengthen your ability to trust those gut feelings that so often lead us toward safety and opportunity. It's a practice of listening for the unseen guide that resides within. Perhaps the most beautiful way to incorporate this concept is by honoring the cultural traditions of your own ancestry. This is a practice of reconnecting with roots and adding depth to your daily routine. You might research if there were specific household spirits, protective figures, or ancestral veneration practices in your heritage. For someone with Celtic roots, this could be as simple as mindful landscaping, planting a hawthorn tree or other native plants known to be favored by the Owls-She, and maintaining a quiet, respectful corner of the garden. For someone with Latin American heritage, it could mean setting up a small, simple ofrenda shelf with photos of departed loved ones, not just on Dia de los Muertos, but year-round, keeping a fresh glass of water or a candle there as a constant gesture of remembrance and invitation for their guidance. These acts are powerful because they are tangible. They move the idea of an unseen protector from the abstract into the physical realm of your home, creating a daily, visible reminder that you are part of a longer story, watched over by the legacy of those who came before you. Psychologists affirm that these practices, regardless of their spiritual framing, have measurable benefits. The act of consciously looking for luck counteracts our brain's innate negativity bias, which is wired to scan for threats and problems. By forcing our attention to the positive and the serendipitous, we actively rewire our neural pathways towards greater optimism. This practice cultivates gratitude, which numerous studies have linked to lower levels of stress and anxiety, improved sleep, and a greater overall sense of well-being. Furthermore, the belief that you have support, whether from an unseen force, your ancestors, or your own honed intuition, reduces the psychological burden of feeling solely responsible for every outcome. It fosters a healthy sense of surrender, allowing you to work hard while also trusting that there are larger forces at play that can assist you. This combination of personal effort and open-handed trust is a recipe for resilience, enabling you to navigate life's inevitable challenges with greater grace and less fear. Ultimately, weaving the thread of invisible protectors into the fabric of your life is about choosing a narrative of hope. It is an active decision to believe that the universe is at least potentially friendly, that help is available in seen and unseen forms, and that we are all participants in a story that is far larger and more mysterious than we can possibly imagine. Yet for all the comfort and meaning they provide, the concept of invisible protectors is not without its critics and serious ethical dilemmas. A more skeptical perspective raises important questions about the potential downsides of these deeply held beliefs. challenging us to consider whether the very thing that offers solace might also, in some cases, be used to exploit or even hinder us. One of the most significant criticisms centers on power and control. Throughout history, the idea of an all-seeing, judgmental supernatural force has been a potent tool for social regulation. Rulers and religious authorities have often positioned themselves as the sole interpreters of divine will, using the threat of displeasing these unseen guardians to enforce conformity, demand obedience, and suppress dissent. The promise of heavenly reward for compliance and the threat of eternal punishment for transgression can be a powerful mechanism for maintaining the status quo and consolidating power in the hands of a few. This dynamic isn't confined to ancient history. In modern contexts, we see similar patterns where the language of divine favor is used to justify political agendas, or where the fear of offending spirits is leveraged to prevent social progress. The concern is that a belief in external, unseen judges can sometimes discourage the kind of critical questioning and independent moral reasoning that are essential for a healthy, evolving society. This leads directly to another major area of debate: the potential erosion of self-reliance. If an individual becomes overly reliant on the idea that an invisible force will intervene to solve their problems, they might neglect their own agency and responsibility. Why develop a detailed financial plan if you believe the universe will provide? Why exhaust every medical option if you're solely waiting for a miraculous healing? Critics worry that this can foster a passive mindset, where people wait for signs or external salvation rather than taking proactive, pragmatic steps to improve their own circumstances. This isn't to say that faith and action are mutually exclusive. Many people beautifully balance the two, but the potential for dependency is a real risk that philosophers and psychologists have long cautioned against. The ideal, they argue, is for belief to serve as a source of strength and courage that empowers action, not as a substitute for it. A belief in unseen protectors should ideally give someone the confidence to face a challenge, not the excuse to avoid it altogether. The modern marketplace has also found ways to commercialize these ancient longings, giving rise to a multi-billion-dollar industry that critics argue often preys on vulnerability. The digital age is filled with self-proclaimed psychics, mediums, and spiritual advisors offering to connect you with your spirit guides for a fee. Online algorithms funnel those searching for meaning toward expensive crystals, courses, and consultations that promise to unlock divine protection and manifest abundance. While many practitioners are sincere, the line between genuine spiritual service and predatory exploitation can be dangerously thin. This commodification of the sacred can turn a profound, personal search for meaning into a consumer transaction, potentially leaving people financially drained and spiritually disillusioned if the promised results fail to materialize. It raises difficult questions about who profits from our need for protection, and whether some aspects of the spiritual realm should remain outside the reach of market forces. Furthermore, in our globalized world, the adoption of beliefs about invisible protectors from other cultures has sparked intense debates about appropriation versus appreciation. When elements of a closed or sacred tradition, such as the Native American concept of spirit animals or the specific rituals of the Haitian Vodou LWA, are taken out of context and used as aesthetics or trendy wellness practices, it can cause deep harm. This often strips these practices of their cultural, historical, and ethical context, reducing a complex system of spiritual responsibility and community relationship to a mere fashion statement or a personality quiz. For the communities from which these traditions originate, this is not flattery. It is a form of erasure and disrespect. It ignores the often painful history surrounding these beliefs and the ongoing struggles of the people who work to preserve them. Scholars of religion and anthropology stress that a respectful approach involves deep learning, understanding the context and often receiving explicit invitation and guidance from within the tradition, rather than simply taking what seems appealing. Engaging with these critical perspectives is not about dismissing the profound personal value that beliefs in invisible protectors can hold. Instead, it is about developing a more mature, nuanced, and responsible relationship with these ideas. It encourages a healthy balance between wonder and wisdom, between faith and critical thinking. It asks us to be mindful consumers of spiritual ideas, to respect the boundaries of cultural traditions, and to ensure that our search for unseen help ultimately empowers us rather than making us passive or vulnerable to exploitation. By confronting these controversies head-on, we honor the complexity of these ancient human beliefs and move towards a more thoughtful and ethical engagement with the mysterious and the unseen. To truly appreciate the profound impact these beliefs have had, we must move beyond abstract concepts and examine the specific, powerful stories that have captured the human imagination for centuries. These case studies, drawn from history and myth, provide the tangible evidence of how the idea of invisible protection has shaped cultures, guided explorers, and offered solace in moments of absolute desperation. Consider the very foundation of one of history's greatest empires, ancient Rome. The Romans did not merely have gods on distant Mount Olympus. They believed their city itself was protected by a host of specialized, unseen guardians known as the penates and the lares. The lares were the spirits of the family's ancestors, worshipped at a small household shrine called a lararium. But beyond the home, there were the lares priestites, the guardian spirits of the entire city and state. These were not optional figures of folklore, they were central to Roman identity. Their protection was considered essential for the empire's survival, and offerings were made to them at the hearth of the state, the Temple of Vesta. The penates, originally the guardians of the pantry, also evolved into state gods who safeguarded the Roman people's collective well-being and prosperity. The security of Rome was not just a matter of legions and walls, it was a sacred contract with these unseen forces. To neglect them was to invite catastrophe, a belief that reveals how deeply the concept of divine protection was woven into the very fabric of Roman political and social life. Across the world, Chinese folklore offers a stunningly parallel narrative with the legendary story of the guardians of the city of Fengdu. According to myth, this city was protected by two devoted officials, Yin Changsheng and Wang Fangping, whose loyalty and mystical powers were so great that they ascended to immortality. After their ascension, they did not abandon their post. Instead, they became the eternal, unseen protectors of Fengdu, which later became known in Taoist tradition as the City of the Dead. Their story evolved into a powerful belief that these two figures and their celestial soldiers would defend the city and its inhabitants from any invading army or evil spirit. This was more than a quaint tale. It was a foundational myth that gave the people a profound sense of security. They believed that their home was watched over by benevolent, powerful beings who operated from a realm beyond human sight, a belief that fostered immense civic pride and resilience. The parallels with Rome's lares priestites are remarkable, demonstrating how two completely isolated cultures arrived at the same solution to the problem of collective safety: the invention of dedicated municipal guardian spirits whose favor was the key to the city's enduring strength. The need for such protection becomes even more acute when facing the terrifying, unpredictable power of the natural world, a reality faced by sailors for millennia. Before the age of GPS and weather satellites, a voyage across the open ocean was a journey into the absolute unknown, a terrifying gamble with nature. In this context, belief in unseen protectors was not a superstition. It was a vital psychological survival tool. Sailors across countless cultures developed a rich tapestry of spirits and deities to plead with and thank for their safe passage. Norse sailors might call upon the goddess Ron, but also fear her, knowing she could just as easily claim them for her underwater haul. Mediterranean sailors often prayed to saints like Saint Nicholas or the Virgin Mary, the Stella Maris star of the sea, to calm the storms and guide them to harbor. The most poignant accounts come from ship logs and sailors' tales, where narrow escapes from hurricanes or shipwrecks were consistently attributed to divine intervention. A sudden calm after a prayer, a strange light seen guiding the ship through a fog bank, a figure seen at the helm during a storm, these experiences were recorded as fact. For these men, attributing their survival to an unseen sea spirit or a merciful saint provided a meaningful narrative for what would otherwise be a terrifying brush with random, meaningless chance. It transformed a story of luck into a story of grace, a crucial distinction for those who lived their lives on the razor's edge of survival. This pattern of attributing miraculous survival to unseen aid continues powerfully into the modern era, with countless personal testimonials that continue to blur the line between faith and fact. There are numerous documented accounts from soldiers in various conflicts who describe a feeling of being pushed to the ground moments before a shell exploded, or a voice telling them to turn down a different street, only to discover their original path was ambushed. While skeptics rightly point to the high-stress environment and the brain's ability to create narratives under duress, for the individuals who lived through it, the experience feels undeniably real and external. Even more common are the modern angel stories featured in news segments and books. These often involve ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances. A parent who suddenly awakens from a sound sleep to find their baby has stopped breathing. A hiker who feels an irresistible urge to change their route and later finds the original path collapsed into a ravine. A driver who claims a mysterious figure appeared in the road causing them to brake, only to have the figure vanish. Reveal a fallen tree ahead that would have caused a fatal accident. These stories are compelling because they are personal, immediate, and told with utter conviction. They represent the direct, modern continuation of the sailor's prayer to Saint Nicholas, a human being in a moment of ultimate vulnerability, reaching for an explanation that involves care and intention rather than cold, indifferent luck. By examining these specific cases, from the state gods of Rome to the personal testimonials of modern car crash survivors, we see the incredible versatility and endurance of the invisible protector archetype. It scales effortlessly from the macro level of protecting an entire civilization to the micro level of guiding a single individual's footstep. These narratives are the lifeblood of the belief system because they provide something that abstract philosophy cannot: a story. They ground the vast, intimidating concept of the unseen world in a relatable human experience. Whether it's a Roman citizen feeling pride in their lairs, a Chinese farmer feeling safe within the walls of Fengdu, a sailor giving thanks for a calm sea, or a mother crediting an angel with saving her child, the emotional result is the same: a profound sense of security, meaning, and connection to something greater than oneself. These case studies are the proof of concept for the human spirit, demonstrating our timeless ability to find guardians in the shadows and weave narratives of protection that allow us to face the vast and unpredictable universe with courage and hope. Having journeyed through the winding paths of ancient myth, the quiet hearths of folklore, and the grand halls of organized religion, we arrive at a vantage point where we can finally see the entire landscape spread out before us. From this height, the connections become breathtakingly clear. The belief in invisible protectors is not a series of isolated cultural curiosities, but a single, magnificent tapestry woven from three fundamental threads: the psychological need for security, the universal search for meaning, and the cultural imperative for community. These are not separate forces, but three expressions of the same deep, human yearning to feel safe, significant, and connected in a vast and often intimidating universe. The psychological thread is perhaps the most primal. It begins with the simple, hardwired instinct for survival. Our brains, as we've seen, are exquisite pattern recognition machines, evolved to detect agency and intention in our environment because assuming a rustle in the grass is a predator, even when it's just the wind kept our ancestors alive. This hypervigilance is the biological bedrock upon which the entire concept is built. It explains why we are so predisposed to see a guiding hand in a fortunate coincidence or a warning presence in a sudden chill. This instinct is then nurtured by our earliest social experiences. Attachment theory shows us that the secure base provided by a caregiver creates a lifelong blueprint for how we seek safety. The invisible protector, be it a guardian angel, a spirit animal, or a domovoi, becomes the ultimate attachment figure, ever present, all-knowing, and unconditionally devoted to our well-being. This belief system is a powerful psychological tool, reducing the anxiety of an unpredictable world by transforming chaotic randomness into a structured narrative where we are the cared-for protagonists. This need for a coherent narrative brings us to the second thread, the quest for meaning. Human consciousness is a blessing and a burden. We are aware of our own fragility and the apparent randomness of tragedy and fortune. To cope with this, we create stories. Mythology, folklore, and religion are the frameworks we have built to answer the unanswerable. Why did I survive the accident when others did not? Why did the harvest fail? The concept of an invisible protector provides an elegant and comforting answer. It replaces cold, indifferent chance with intention and purpose. A near miss is no longer luck, it is divine intervention. A personal strength isn't just a character trait, it is the gift of a spirit guide. This narrative provides a powerful moral compass as well. The idea that our actions are witnessed by the Kurum and Katabin, judged by karma, or noted by our ancestral spirits encourages ethical behavior and fosters a sense of personal accountability that is far more intimate than any human law. It makes morality a personal dialogue with the unseen, rather than an abstract set of rules. Yet these psychological and narrative needs do not exist in a vacuum. They are shaped and expressed through the third thread, culture. This is where the universal human yearning is sculpted into specific, beautiful forms. A culture's environment, history, and social structure determine what its invisible protectors will look like and what they will protect. A nomadic, clan-based society like the ancient Norse gave us the Disir, female ancestral spirits guarding the entire family line, reflecting their focus on kinship and legacy. An empire like Rome created the Lares Priestites, state guardians protecting the entire civilization, mirroring their value of civic identity and order. A religion like Christianity, with its emphasis on individual salvation, offers a personal guardian angel. In Japan, the kami are tied to specific natural locations, reflecting a worldview of sacred immanence in the land itself. Culture provides the language, the imagery, and the rituals, the puja, the ofrenda, the whispered prayer, that allow the internal, psychological need to become an external, shared reality. These rituals, in turn, reinforce social bonds, transmit values to the next generation, and create a powerful sense of collective identity. The belief becomes a social glue, uniting people under a common understanding of how the world works and who is watching over them. The work of the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung provides a profound framework for synthesizing these three threads. Jung proposed the existence of the collective unconscious, a deep layer of the human psyche shared by all people, which contains universal, primordial patterns and images called archetypes. The invisible protector is a quintessential archetype. It is not an idea that is taught, but one that emerges spontaneously across all cultures and eras because it is baked into the very structure of the human mind. The specific form it takes, whether an angel, a kami, or a brownie, is influenced by culture, but the core pattern itself is innate. it is a psychological imperative-seeking expression. Jung would argue that when we engage with these stories, whether through religion, folklore, or art, we are not just participating in a tradition, we are connecting with these deep archetypes within ourselves. This connection is what gives these beliefs their enduring power and emotional resonance. They feel true because, in a psychological sense, they are true. They are authentic expressions of the deepest needs and patterns of the human soul. By weaving together these perspectives, we achieve a holistic understanding that is far greater than the sum of its parts. The psychological view explains the mechanism, why our brains are so eager to believe. The cultural view explains the manifestation, how that belief is dressed in the unique costumes of different societies. And the Jungian archetypal view explains the resonance, why these stories, despite their different costumes, all feel so familiar and powerful to us. They endure not because they are factually verifiable, but because they are psychologically and socially functional. They help us manage fear, create meaning, build community, and connect with the deepest layers of our own humanity. They are a testament to our incredible creativity in the face of our own vulnerability, a beautiful and enduring attempt to whisper into the darkness and believe with all our hearts that something benevolent is whispering back. And so our journey through the shadowed realms of the unseen draws to a close. We have ventured from the whispering forests of our earliest ancestors, where every stone and stream held a conscious spirit, to the digital landscapes of the modern age, where algorithms silently curate our reality. We have sat by the hearths of folklore, listening to tales of helpful brownies and temperamental domovoi, and we have stood in the grand cathedrals of faith, contemplating the watchful presence of angels and bodhisattvas. We have seen how these concepts are not merely relics of a superstitious past, but are vibrant, living responses to the fundamental anxieties and aspirations of being human. They are the stories we tell ourselves to navigate the terrifying beauty of a world filled with both wonder and uncertainty, a testament to our relentless creativity in the face of the unknown. What unites the animist offering a prayer to a river spirit, the soldier feeling an angelic presence in the trenches of Mons, and the modern individual feeling a sudden, life-saving intuition, is a shared, profound need for connection and meaning. These narratives, in all their magnificent diversity, provide a crucial sense of order in a universe that can often feel chaotic and indifferent. They transform random chance into purposeful guidance and impersonal tragedy into a bearable, if mysterious, part of a larger plan. They offer comfort to the grieving, courage to the fearful, and a moral framework that encourages us to be better stewards of our communities and our planet. Whether these protectors are viewed as divine entities, psychological archetypes, or cultural metaphors, their impact on human history and individual lives is undeniably real and powerfully significant. As you step away from this exploration, we invite you to carry its questions with you. The next time you experience a moment of inexplicable good fortune, a sudden impulse that leads you away from danger, or a profound sense of peace in a time of turmoil, pause for a moment. Consider the countless generations before you who would have interpreted that same feeling through the lens of their own beliefs. You might choose to see it as a trick of the mind, a fascinating neurological response to stress. Or you might allow yourself to entertain the possibility of something more, a whisper from the edges of perception that has comforted humanity since we first gazed up at the stars and felt both small and watched over. There is no single correct answer, only the invitation to be curious, to be open to mystery, and to find your own meaning in the silent spaces between what we know and what we feel. Thank you for allowing us to guide you through this captivating exploration of the defenders who work from the shadows. The conversation does not end here, it continues with you. We would be honored to hear your own stories and reflections in the comments below. Have you ever felt the presence of an unseen guide? Does your family or culture have its own traditions surrounding these ideas? Your experiences add another vital thread to this endless human tapestry. If you enjoyed this journey into the mysteries of history and mythology, please subscribe to the channel for more investigations into the hidden stories that shape our world. Until next time, may your path be smooth and your journey interesting wherever it may